Welcome back, everyone. This is Bloodborne Session 5. Been a couple weeks. Pers- uh, Personal stuff and being out of town kind of came up and snuck up on me there. But we're back and ready to hunt some prey. Now, before we continue on, let's talk to a few characters. See if they have anything new to say before we press on. Last we left off, we were at the entrance to Bergenworth. We're not going in there quite yet. There are things I'd like to do first.
Have I heard of Bergenworth? Afraid I can't say that I have. The locals aren't apt to share any local history. I'm afraid I may not be of help for much longer. And
Alright then. Off to the chapel.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I've only...
Nothing from Mariana. Mostly I'm trying to tease out the new dialogue from this old lady.
Oh. There you are. You're early, dear. Is anything the matter? You can always tell me. Mother will make everything better. What's wrong? Anything you'd like to tell me?
I have my share of woes.
Oh my. You poor thing. But don't you worry. This'll help you forget. Forget your troubles. Forget your cares. Oh, what is it, dear? Are you in a bind again? Oh my, you poor thing. But don't you worry. This'll help you. Oh, what is it, dear? Are you in a bind again? Oh my, but this'll... Oh, are you in a... Oh my, oh now, have some patience. Mother will make everything better. Now.
Okay, so as the night has started to progress, Miss Unreal, the woman here, has started to go a little, unfortunately, a little crazy. She seems to think that we are either perhaps her child or an old spouse that she has likely not seen in years, that probably did not survive for so long, given that this is Yarnum and there's werewolves everywhere. But tonight's probably bringing out some bad memories. we're gonna take a look at that sedative item here in 1 minute. It's very important, and I'm glad to have a few, especially for what we're heading towards. She's given us 6 sedatives, at least for the time being. Liquid medicine concocted at Bergenworth calms the nerves. Those who delve into the arcane fall all too easily to madness, and thick human blood serves to calm the frayed nerves of those inquisitive minds. Naturally, this often leads to reliance on blood administration. So, that is thick human blood. Likely she's drawn it from herself, given that she's pretty old at this point, and thus her blood's probably not quite in the most, shall we say, prime position for a healthy person, but it does have its use to us. And this is helps bleed into it. I'm pretty certain I haven't covered it yet, but the main theory that I share, that many people also do with this game, is that the blood vials produced by a church here are actually supposed to be menstrual blood that has been specially cultured in one arcane way or another, which is why you get these blood vials, the special ones, from Yosefka and Ariana, and of course just now the sedatives. It also explains why the vicar we fought was a woman, Amelia, and why women are especially venerated at this in the healing church. Heading to it, we haven't been yet. Anything up here? Not really. Have to get all the way over there though, but I don't want to quite do that yet. Trying to be careful. Oops. There's a hunter over there, and he's not alone. Just keep this one-on-one. Oh. Take note, he is in the Yahar Ghul set. And he had bolt paper. Kind of a useless item with that Pt.20 there. Speaking of, Pt.20 is actually the Latin word for lightning. I do this in pretty much every game now since Dark Souls 2. There's in the prison area, if you attack the little counterweight here, it will fall into the well and bring up an item. Neo does that a lot as well. And notice, this character, also in a Yahar Ghul set. He's using Ludwig's rifle. As well as a rifle spear. He is all in on the blood tinge build. Oh crap. Alright. He's really got his ranged option down. And I am somewhat rusty. Thankfully, I am well equipped. Notice he is also in the Arhagul set. Quicksilver bullets. That makes sense for him. So they're going nuts. So they're likely starting to go bestial. Get this item. Frenzy Cold Blood. And press forward. Whoa. Forgot about you, mister. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. And Kidnapper. Another Yarhar Ghoul based enemy. Twin shards. Regular old gunman. Nothing special here. Executioner. There's some wandering nightmares around here. Trying not to miss them. Yeah, then get me. There they are. Come on. Ah, great. They triggered. Other one. Where'd you go? Ah, I'll come back. Oh, there it is. Don't you dare go away. It's not until Dark Souls 3 that they automatically give the items they drop directly to you with the crystal lizards in that game. Lead elixir. Pretty sure we haven't gone over that one. A heavy, syrupy liquid medicine. Temporarily shifts weight to make deflection of attacks easier, but must be used with care. Also slows movement with no change to defense. Its recipe for a mysterious concoction is unknown, but some postulate that it materializes only within the most desperate nightmares. So what that does is gives you super armor, which does not heighten your defense, but makes it so you flinch less often. Now, this item here, tonsil stone. Step lightly round to the right of the great cathedral and seek an ancient shrouded church. The gift of the Godhead will grant you strength. And this is where it asked us to go. You'll notice that these statues were also within Yarvargul, the exceedingly warped ones of the maidens with their cloth faces praying upwards. Weird little bath altar thing.
Oh, Amygdala. Oh, Amygdala. Have mercy on the poor bastard.
For those who recall, there's a very similar portal-esque spell around where we grabbed this fancy top hat outside the Odin Chapel. Now, we're in some unknown location. Normally that attack would kill us, but given the tonsil stone and the first time doing this quest line, it transports us here instead. Notice they have these weird fetal creatures in these cages, long dead, and lots of enormous glass jars sealed with wax and other manner of things filled with eyeballs, even though they're a bit hard to see here. Welcome to Bergenworth, first floor.
What a joy it is to behold the divine. It must be such a pleasure. You're in my debt, you know. You're nigh on a beast of the field. But here you are, treading a measure with the gods. Are your feet as fat as your wits? Oh, cease this dithering. Take the plunge. Throw yourself to the wolves. Are your feet... Oh, cease...
Now that trustworthy fellow is named Patches. He's the one who gave us the tonsil stone outside of the in Hemwick Charnel Lane, though mysteriously, of course, after you've reached a certain point, no matter which house you go with the little red incense lantern that you go to, he will be there until you've achieved the tonsil stones. So say we went to Gilbert's house. He would be there mysteriously. Yet here he is. I believe he's doing that via some arcane ritual. So, Bergenworth is a college. Doing some very curious research. Here's a lecture hall. Oh. And here is one of its students. Known technically as a scholar. They've regressed or evolved into these weird amorphous blob creatures with a general humanoid shape. Lecture theater key. Let's take a look at that. Key to the lecture theater in the lecture building. Today, the 2-story lecture building is adrift in the nightmare, but once it was a place of reflection, where scholars learned of history and archaeology. Perhaps it still is, as the students in this lecture theater appear to await the return of their professor. So, this place is, to draw a literary comparison, much like Miskatonic University. Student uniform and student trousers. In, say, things like, The Mountains of Madness and other Lovecraftian tales. Let's see, where's that student stuff? Uniform of the students of Bergenworth, a bygone institute learning. This alternative lacks the thick cape. The Healing Church has its roots in Bergenworth, and naturally borrows heavily from its uniform design. Focused not on knowledge or thought, but on pure pretension would surely bring Master Willem to despair if only he knew. This is more or less the same description, only missing a few words. Take a look around, see if there's anything else to miss before we head on out that door. Feel like there is. Could've swore, but it's probably upstairs. Alright, there we go. There's the door. But first... Okay, that's where I came from. I can hear them. There's one. Being, sort of somewhat amorphous blobs, roughly shaped like humans, they don't take a whole lot of physical damage. Madman's knowledge, and more knowledge. They're generally more susceptible to elemental, such as fire or more so electricity, given their water-like nature. Red jelly. This is a Chalice Dungeon ritual material. Where are these? Oh, here they are. Material used in the Holy Chalice ritual. Stillborn infants born of a creature of unknown origin, of the type found in some corners of the old labyrinth. This kind of thematic visual flair and just the overall lore and storytelling with the, you'll notice the sort of aborted fetus that creature material is, ties into why It's very, and again, I feel most people, including myself, rightly believe that is means that the blood that we inject ourselves with to heal is of menstrual origin. And we've walked out into the void. Nightmare Frontier. Notice we are in an area surrounded by these sort of headstones that are somewhat organic in nature. Really odd for something made of what should be stone. Now, let's head on outside, take a look where we are. This is the Nightmare Frontier. A twisted place. Much like the Hunter's Dream. This does not make sense. For the most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all of its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of a black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but someday the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. How it filled Lovecraft, the Call of Cthulhu. And now, Bloodborne reveals its true nature as a Lovecraftian cosmic horror game, not just a Victorian werewolf hunting setting, as it begins as, and we start to go into. Oh, Mr. Wandering Nightmare. Now, let's put this this topic out of the way. Lovecraft, Howard Phillips Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft, as he's mostly known, was a fucking racist and anti-Semite. All-around person who held incredibly terrible views. This is something that came, I think it was 2019. I'm pretty certain it was that. It was pre-COVID, just right a little while before, a few months before it happened. But an RPG book company known as Evil Hat Studios, I think it was. Either way, they're called Evil Hat. They put out a RPG book known as pen and paper dungeons, kind of a Dungeons and Dragons style RPG called Fate of Cthulhu. And on one of the opening pages, they made certain to call out Howard Phillips Lovecraft for who and what he was. Someone who held very disgusting, vile views of non-white people and just terrible descriptions of African Americans and people of Indian origin and pretty much anything that didn't fit the quote-unquote Aryan disgusting master race Nazi garbage that we mostly associate that kind of deal with. And and on Twitter, I was seeing it was an easy way for me to figure out who I needed to unfollow really quick, that they were retweeting things about calling out, and I'm stressing, and I'm using enormous air quotes here when I say calling out, because you're not really you're really putting yourself more on the spot there than Evil Hat, in that saying that oh, this company's calling out Lovecraft as a racist, but they're using his work to base off their RPG and all that stuff. Like it's some sort of a gotcha, when in fact it's honestly the right thing to do in this Lovecraftian cosmic horror things that we love to look at in pop culture. I mean, we all, most people love Cthulhu and the Elder Gods and the Eldritch Truth and all these things that we kind of inundated ourselves with through via movies, video games such as Bloodborne, Call of Cthulhu, hey, and all these other good to middling games and some bad of that take on this cosmic horror themes, and we unfortunately pop culture for mostly for worse, but still in cases for better, we kind of brush aside a lot of the views of Lovecraft that were very problematic, and when they are brought up, people like to say, oh, it was a different time, it's just not how we are now, and it was more acceptable then, as if that's supposed to rationalize that awful, disgusting way of thinking, and no, that's not the right way to approach this. Now, when it comes to Lovecraft, and this happens with a lot of people nowadays, like, let's say, trash like J.K. Rowling, who's a very anti homosexual, transsexual, gay, bisexual, whatever, just anything that doesn't conform to what we consider standard sexuality, and how she's a terrible person, and it's like, let's separate the art from the artist so we can still enjoy Harry Potter but still recognize she's a pretty terrible person, which has some merit to the way people can make that argument. But with Lovecraft, that line, that distinction, it's not really there for a lot of his works. Shadow of the Innsmouth, in Red Hook, his he has terrible, just indefensible descriptions of non-whites and Jewish people, and just anything that he didn't want to understand or look down on as in they're human beings, and they're not separate from his works, and for worse, they definitely influenced them. I'm not gonna say the cat's name, but the cat in Rats in the Walls. He had a name that we can open up in our tab and look for, and then close that and being like, oh, okay, yeah, that's really bad. But that stuff is not separate from the works or anything. And it's also important that when we bring up this topic, that there's this whole stupid part of the internet that's like, oh, I don't want to get canceled for me saying something stupid or whatever, when really, in all honesty, I mean, I'm sure all of us know this, that it's people just not wanting to take responsibility for being terrible. When we bring this up in regards to Lovecraft, especially in particular, this quote unquote, I know I tried to move away from using that particular phrasing because I use it an awful goddamn lot, but it's not about canceling Lovecraft in particular, especially because he's long fucking dead at this point, and we and no money that you're spending on any Cthulhu merchandise or reprints of his books, etc., or Bloodborne, or any other video games inspired by his work. We're not. The goal isn't to cancel or whatever the hell you think that means. To him, this is not about erasure. This is about calling out what is wrong, why it is wrong, and on top of it, just making sure we don't repeat that. Making sure that is recognized that it is wrong. Recognize its origins as something with very problematic views and ideas that again, should not have been in any form acceptable in their time, and should even be much less so now in 2021, or any time in the past few hundred years plus. So, yeah, cosmic horror as a genre definitely has sprung from him, and we've had lots of fantastic movies and things inspired by his works, like Annihilation being inspired by The Color Out of Space, and new programs out there right now like Lovecraft County, and of course Hellboy by Mike Mignola with its Lovecraftian cosmic horror inspirations. There's nothing wrong with these inspirations. It's the recognize of where they come from and the horrible things that they've been a part of, but willing to push forward. There's nothing wrong with calling out something bad for what it is.